The bakery's neon flicker in the cold midnight mist, its door half open like a secret. Lena stopped when she saw him. A silent soldier, face shadowed beneath a helmet, struggling to pay for bread with trembling hands. No words, just eyes, haunted, tired. She stepped in, paid quietly. He nodded once. Hours later, the ground shook. Tanks rumbled past her window. Her street was no longer hers. Welcome to Snap Stories That Started. Lena lived on the third floor of a crumbling Soviet-era apartment block, just far enough from the city center to avoid attention, but close enough to feel every tremor of unrest. At 26, she had long perfected the art of invisibility. Never too loud, never too involved. Her nights were spent at the dimly lit community radio station on Gorky Street, where she worked the overnight shift, playing soft jazz and pre-recorded news from a neutral script. Few listened, but she liked the silence. She lived alone by choice. Her mother, a retired nurse, had moved to the countryside after her father vanished during a protest 10 years ago. No body, no explanation. Just a photograph on a mantle and a gap that never fully closed. Lena never marched, never shouted. While her city split down invisible lines of loyalty and resentment, she clung to her bubble of neutrality. Politics were dangerous. Sides meant enemies, and enemies meant loss. Still, she helped where she could. Small things. Fixing a neighbor's power line. Helping an old man find his daughter's address. Leaving warm food by doors when she heard crying. She believed in people, not flags. But even kindness had grown complicated. One misstep, one wrong word, and you were labeled. She moved like a shadow between curfews and patrols, ducking under tension thick enough to taste. But behind the guarded quiet in her chest, there lived a flicker. A quiet urge to do good, to make meaning from her father's silence. She had no ideology, no allegiance, just a quiet need to help, and a gnawing sense that neutrality was becoming a luxury she couldn't afford. The morning after the bread shop encounter, the city was different. It began subtly. No morning broadcasts, no traffic reports, no distant hum of buses. The signal light on Lena's console blinked an unfamiliar pattern. 3 short pulses, 1 long. Coded. A warning used only in emergencies. Then silence. The station, like the city, went dark. Outside, the streets had emptied. Concrete barricades appeared where market stalls once stood. Rumors whispered through half-open windows. Soldiers, not locals, not declared. And then she saw him, the same soldier, the one with the trembling hands. But this time he wasn't quiet. He stood tall at a newly erected checkpoint near her building, barking orders, his voice sharp and unquestioned. His uniform had no insignia, but the rifle slung across his back spoke louder than any flag. Their eyes met. Recognition flared. His gaze locked onto hers, lingering just a second too long. He knew her, remembered the bread, the moment of quiet kindness, but his face gave nothing away. He turned, issued a command, and let her pass without a word. Lena's pulse quickened. She walked quickly, heart pounding beneath her coat, not daring to look back. Why had he let her go? What did it mean? Back in her apartment, the walls closed in. The city was being taken without headlines, without declaration. No one knew who was in charge or who to trust. Phones were silent. Internet gone. Only shadows moved with purpose. And now, she was caught in the web. Did he spare her out of gratitude? Or had he marked her? She had 3 options and little time. Stay silent and blend in. Pretend nothing had changed. Run. Leave the city before the roads close completely. Or act. Use the silence at the station, the hidden mic access, the last working transmitter, if she dared. Neutrality had been her armor, but now it felt like a cage. The city settled into an eerie rhythm. Controlled chaos masked by silence. Tanks parked like statues at intersections. Soldier patrolled, but no one spoke of who they were or why they'd come. The local news was scrubbed clean. Radio frequencies hummed with nothing. Electricity cut at odd hours. And through it all, Lena moved like a whisper, eyes wide open. She began documenting, quietly, obsessively, with an old phone kept on airplane mode. She captured images. Foreign uniforms at checkpoints, vehicles with obscure plates, buildings being taken over in the night. She clipped audio from strange broadcasts that buzz on unused frequencies. She wrote coded notes in a worn notebook, using a cipher her father had taught her as a child. Back when puzzles were just games, not survival. She knew which alleys to slip through, which backdoor routes avoided checkpoints. She stopped using her front door. Her apartment became a shell, safe only when empty. Trust dissolved like smoke. One neighbor vanished after sharing food with the wrong person. Another began flying a new flag from his window, too loud, too eager. Within days, he was dragged out, accused of deception by both sides. The line between resistance and betrayal blurred. Lena watched silent, handshaking. Then came the connection. A whispered introduction at a shuttered bookstore led her to a hidden basement below a closed butcher shop. Inside, 3 figures huddled over laptops running on car batteries. Underground journalists. Survivors. Lena shared what she'd gathered. They stared at her with wary hope. She had access. They needed eyes inside, voices, faces, names, especially military contacts. Someone like him. She didn't speak his name. She didn't have one. But the memory of his silence haunted her. The bread, the checkpoint, the look. It was too deliberate. Days passed in shadows. Every second outside was a calculation. Inside, she built stories, snapshots of a city falling under silent control. Then one night, a knock. Not frantic, not soft. One knock, a pause. 2 more. She froze. He stood at her door. The soldier, alone, unarmed. The hallway light cast shadows under his eyes, exhausted, older now. "You need to leave," he said. "Tomorrow, before nightfall." Lena didn't move. Her mouth went dry. The words landed like a blade. "Why?" she asked. "Why are you telling me?" He didn't answer, just looked at her. Something unreadable in his expression. Regret? Guilt? Fear? "What are you really doing here?" she pressed. "Who are you helping?" Still nothing. He stepped back into the dim hall, fading without a sound. She closed the door and locked it, heart slamming against her ribs. Her choice had come again, but this time it felt like a countdown. The sky was bruised with dawn when Lena zipped her backpack shut. Flash drive, encrypted notebook, extra clothes, ration bars. One bag. No noise. The station was her goal. Its upper floor, abandoned since the first week of the takeover, still had a working transmitter. If she could reach it undetected, she could use the backup generator to go live, just long enough to tell the truth. She moved like smoke through alleyways, her heart sinking to every bootstep echoing in the distance. Her breath hitched when she passed the checkpoint 2 blocks from the station. The soldier from before wasn't there. Still, she didn't trust the quiet. Inside the building, the stairwell creaked beneath her. Dust coated the banisters. Broken signs dangled overhead, half of them scorched from a fire she remembered seeing from her apartment window. The upper broadcast room was intact. Unused, untouched, almost sacred. She wired the feed manually, hand trembling as she flipped the generator. The red light blinked. Live. She exhaled and spoke. "My name is Lena," she said softly. "And if you're hearing this, it means I didn't leave when I should have." She kept it simple, honest, emotional. She described what she had seen, what was taken, how the city had changed, the patrols, the fear, the disappearances. She never used names, only truths. She ended with him. "A soldier warned me to run. Twice." He said nothing else. Not once. But he didn't have to. His silence was the loudest thing I've heard in weeks. And that's why I'm still here. Because some part of this story isn't finished. The red light flickered. A distant alarm wailed. Her stomach dropped. They'd found her. Boots thundered down the lower stairs. Orders were shouted. She yanked the drive from the console, stuffed it into her pocket, and burst through the fire escape door. Steel against steel. Sirens behind her. She vaulted the last stairs, boots slipping on wet concrete. The station's rear lot was blocked by an armored truck, but the alley beside it was open, As she rounded the corner, voices closed in. Then, a clash of command. 2 soldiers appeared, weapons raised. But between them stood him. The soldier. He didn't speak. Again. But he lifted one hand, palm out, stopping them. She froze. They hesitated. Then he said only one word. Clear. It was enough. The unit paused. Too long. She sprinted. Turned the alley. Didn't stop. Behind her, a single shot cracked through the early morning air. She flinched, but she didn't look back. Lena crossed the border under cloud cover, escorted by 2 strangers with forged IDs and a map she had memorized by heart. They didn't speak. Neither did she. By the time she stepped onto cracked asphalt of the neighboring safe zone, her legs were numb and her chest heavy with 1,000 unsaid things. The first thing she saw was a small refugee station. Tin roof, guarded by tired volunteers and medics with sunken eyes. The second thing was a TV. Her voice was on it. Some part of the story isn't finished. Clips from her broadcast had leaked. Fragmented audio overlaid with shaky footage from inside the city. 4 media networks picked it up. Analysts debated the footage's authenticity. Activists share her words with translated subtitles. Hashtags bloomed like fire through digital spaces. She was offered protection, interviews, meetings, a new name if she wanted one. But Lena stayed quiet. She watched from safe houses as protests erupted in neighboring cities. Embassies issued statements. Aid convoys were dispatched. Cameras finally turned toward the place she used to call home. Her footage, grainy, urgent, became a symbol. One thing was missing: the soldier. No one could confirm what happened to him. Rumors whispered of a public execution. Others claimed he was arrested for treason. A few insisted he had defected and gone underground, just like her. She didn't ask, didn't want confirmation. But every time she saw the footage of her last transmission, the red light blinking, the soft static just before her voice began, she remembered his face, framed by floodlights and authority, choosing silence over command. He never spoke, but maybe, like her, he believed not everything had to be loud to be heard. In exile, Lena took a different name, but kept her voice. She became a reporter, freelance at first, then sought after for her courage and first-hand insight. Her stories focus on people in the margins, the ones who whispered instead of shouted, who helped without being seen. She never returned home, but home never left her. Every broadcast she made, every story she told, carried an echo of that night. The blinking red light, the static hum, the soldier's eyes. She thought about him often, his silence, his warning, his final choice. Was he a man conflicted, trapped in duty? Or was he something more dangerous? A believer who changed his mind too late? She never got an answer. But in the quiet hours before going live, she'd remember the bread, the stillness, the way he didn't speak, but didn't stop her. That one moment, so small, had unraveled everything. Her kindness, his silence. It had spun into a warning, a broadcast, a desperate escape. 2 lives changed, and a city had woken up. Lena didn't need to know the ending. Some stories didn't tie up neatly, but she had survived. She had spoken, and somewhere, buried deep in the fabric of her work, was the truth. Sometimes the quietest acts shift the loudest tides.